They thought it was a smart move, but it became a nightmare. Some trades in MLB history looked fine on paper until the players they gave away became legends. Franchises were changed. Fans still cry over these deals today. From future Hall of Famers being swapped for almost nothing to trades that sank entire teams, these decisions will forever haunt baseball history. These are the 10 worst trades ever made in Major League Baseball, and the stories behind them are brutal. Back in 2002, the Expos were in a tough spot. Attendance was low, the team wasn't drawing fans, and ownership wasn't even sure they'd survive in Montreal. So they tried to make a big splash. They traded for Bartolo Colon, thinking he could carry them into the playoffs. But what did they give up? That's what stings. They sent away Grady Sizemore, Cliff Lee, and Brandon Phillips. 3 names that would have massive impacts on the league. Sizemore became a fan favorite with Gold Gloves and All-Star games. Lee turned into a CY Young winner. And Phillips? He became one of the best second basemen in baseball. All that for 1 year of Colon, and the Expos didn't even make the playoffs. But this isn't the only time a team gave up future greatness for a short-term fix. Just take a look at what the Red Sox did in 1990. They needed bullpen help for the playoff run, so they traded for Larry Anderson, a reliever. In return, they gave the Astros a young first base prospect named Jeff Bagwell. Anderson only pitched 22 innings for Boston. Bagwell? He spent 15 years with Houston, won an MVP, and crushed nearly 450 home runs. That one trade cost the Red Sox a Hall of Famer, and it gets worse. In 1997, the Rays picked Bobby Abreu in the expansion draft. They could have built a team around him. But they flipped him to the Phillies for Kevin Stocker just hours later. While Stocker faded fast, Abreu became one of the best hitters of his era, stacking up all-star appearances and silver sluggers. The Rays never gave him a chance. Speaking of giving up too soon, the Giants pulled off a trade in 2003 that still stings their fan base. They were searching for a solid catcher to support Barry Bonds and landed on AJ Pierzynski. But to get him, they traded away Joe Nathan, Francisco Liriano, and Boof Bonser. Pierzynski only lasted 1 season in San Francisco. Nathan became one of the top closers in baseball, and Liriano had seasons where he was nearly untouchable. The Giants thought they were filling a gap, but instead they gave the Twins years of top-tier pitching. And that's the problem with these trades. Teams focus so hard on what they need right now that they don't realize what they're giving up, like the Twins, who had Johan Santana, arguably one of the best pitchers of his time. When they sent him to the Mets, they got 4 players in return, none of whom made a real impact. Santana threw the first no-hitter in Mets history. The Twins, they got nothing close, and we're just getting started. Let's keep going because the list of painful trades doesn't stop there. One that still hurts Phillies fans is when they gave up Ryne Sandberg. Before he became a Hall of Fame second baseman, he was just a prospect in the Phillies system. In exchange for Ivan DeJesus, they shipped him to the Cubs in 1982, along with veteran Larry Bowa. At the time, it seemed fair, but Sandberg had a legendary career with 9 Gold Gloves and 7 All-Star selections. Meanwhile, DeJesus was average at best and didn't stay in Philly for long. That one move gave the Cubs a franchise icon and left the Phillies with regret. Let's talk about the Astros and their 1998 gamble on Randy Johnson. Don't get it wrong, Randy was a beast on the mound. He pitched lights out after the trade and helped Houston make the playoffs. But it was a rental. He only stayed for a few months before signing elsewhere. And what did Houston give up? Freddie Garcia, Carlos Guillen, and John Halama, all of whom went on to have solid careers. Garcia especially stood out, even getting all-star nods. So yes, the Astros got a few great starts from Randy, but they lost years of valuable players in return. The Orioles also made a move that aged terribly. In 1991, they were desperate for a power hitter and traded for Glenn Davis. In return, they gave up Steve Finley, Curt Schilling, and Pete Harnisch. Finley became a World Series winner and a 5-time Gold Glove outfielder. Schilling turned into one of the most dominant postseason pitchers ever. And Davis? He struggled with injuries and never lived up to expectations. Baltimore gave away 3 stars and got nothing back. Then you have the Yankees, who made a sneaky good trade in 1975 that worked out for them but not for the Pirates. The Yankees received Willie Randolph, Ken Brett, and Doc Ellis in exchange for Doc Meddick. Meddick didn't do much in Pittsburgh, while Randolph became a leader for New York, winning 2 championships and making multiple all-star teams. He played over a decade with the Yankees, helping anchor their infield for years. That one smart move gave New York long-term stability at second base. It wasn't just the big names that hurt teams either. Some of the worst trades involved young players who hadn't played much. In 2016, when the Padres traded James Shields to the White Sox and got back a kid named Fernando Tatis Jr., at the time, Tatis was just an unproven teenager. But now, he's one of the most exciting players in the league. Shields, on the other hand, struggled in Chicago. Looking back, it feels like the Padres hit the jackpot without realizing it. Sometimes, it's not about what a player is doing now, it's what they're about to become. Teams have made the mistake of focusing on short-term fixes and ignoring long-term potential. And time after time, it's come back to bite them. Just like it did with Johan Santana, Jeff Bagwell, or even Bobby Abreu, these trades changed teams forever, and not in a good way. But wait till you hear what happened with Pedro Martinez. Pedro Martinez was already showing signs of greatness with the Expos. In 1997, he even won the C.Y. Young Award, proving he was one of the best pitchers in baseball. But instead of keeping him and building around him, the Expos decided they couldn't afford him. So they sent him to the Boston Red Sox in exchange for Carl Pavano and a few others. A big mistake. Pedro became a legend in Boston. He pitched well and dominated. He won 2 more Cy Young Awards, helped the Red Sox win a World Series, and became one of the most feared pitchers in the game. Meanwhile, Pavano never made a real impact in Montreal. The Expos gave up a Hall of Famer for almost nothing. That trade didn't just hurt their team, it helped start a golden era for Boston. Another trade that still stings involves Corey Kluber. In 2010, the Padres gave him up in a 3-team deal that sent him to the Cleveland Indians. At the time, Kluber was just another minor leaguer, but he became one of the best pitchers in the league, winning 2 Cy Youngs and leading Cleveland to the World Series. The Padres got outfielder Ryan Ludwig, who didn't do much. That's a painful reminder of how letting go of potential too early can haunt a team for years. And it wasn't just pitchers. Position players have also been part of these nightmare trades, like when the Marlins traded Christian Yelich to the Brewers in 2018. Yelich had made some promises, but nobody expected what would happen next. He exploded onto the scene, won the MVP, and turned the Brewers into serious contenders. In return, the Marlins got a handful of players who haven't done much. That trade alone shows how a wrong move can shift a franchise's future. Some teams went all in for short-term success and gave up the future. Others misjudged talent and let stars slip away. But there's one more trade that might top them all. Let's talk about Cliff Lee and Grady Sizemore.